Xbox Game Pass has picked up a lot of steam lately with over 10 million subscribers and all Microsoft first-party games released on the service day one. There is no argument that Game Pass is a hit, but how does this service impact developers? Let's take a closer look. Welcome everybody and thank you for joining me. At this point I think I've said everything that I wanted to say about Xbox Game Pass, so instead of focusing on the service itself, I want to take a look at how it affects developers and whether or not it's worth it for them to have their games on there. In today's world there is plenty of ways you can get your games out there, especially on PC, but with thousands of games on Steam, getting discovered can be extremely hard. So does developers, more specifically indie developers, benefit more by being included on Game Pass? And when they do get included, is it worth it for them and do they get compensated properly? We hear a lot of artists complain about services like Spotify not compensating them and directors complaining about Netflix. So how does it work with Game Pass? Now, according to Bloomberg and an interview that they had, Dana Bash stated that Xbox Game Pass subscriptions leads to a 20% increase in playtime. That also means a 20% increase in sales and in-game purchases. So Microsoft's structure is a bit of a mixture between Spotify, who pays per stream, and Netflix, who pays upfront based on how much they think your project is worth. Now, Microsoft also gives an upfront payment and then they will give you an additional payment later on. Now, that is pretty much the standard business practice for how exclusivity works. A game developer will approach Sony or Epic or Microsoft with a game idea, and then they would offer to make that game for them on their platform, and then the developer will pay a bunch of money to make it happen. Or a company like Sony or Microsoft will seek you out and offer you a bunch of money to make your content exclusive. We see a lot of that happening with timed exclusives now as well. Now, with a service like Game Pass where they are not overcrowded with games, it can be much easier to be discovered. Where an indie developer might have no chance of being seen, now they do have an opportunity to get noticed. It also helps a lot of AA games. People will give a game like Grounded a chance because it is free on Game Pass, where they would have otherwise not bothered with the game because there is a price tag involved. Again, it pretty much works the same way as it does with Netflix. How many movies have you watched on there that you would never go and pay for in the cinema or even rent a movie at a movie store? Now, the data also shows that once the game leaves Game Pass, it actually sells better. Now, I can speak for myself. I will play a game on Game Pass, and once it leaves the service, I will just go out and buy the game because I want to continue to play it. So there is a 20% increase for these game companies. So this also shows that Game Pass is a service that works for developers, because if it did not work for developers, then the service cannot survive. Now, it is also worth pointing out that just because the service works right now does not mean that it will continue to work. As much more games get included on Game Pass, it will be harder for you to get discovered. There will be less visibility. It is pretty much like YouTube. Back in the day, there were way less content creators and much easier for people to discover your channel. Now you need to make a blood sacrifice to the great Lord Cthulhu just to get a view. Now, the article also goes on to point out some of the concerns that developers have when it comes to compensation and visibility, although on Game Pass that does not seem to be an issue, at least for now. Now, just to give you an example of how this service impacts developers, the article states the following. If you take an independent creator like Simon Barron, who is a publishing director of Crave Digital, which is a software house in London, he says that Game Pass has helped him win over new fans with his puzzle games, which aren't typical console fare. So Microsoft says that 60% of the people who has played his games on Game Pass has never played puzzle games before, and 2/5 of those people will go on to buy similar games after playing. So this is the type of positive impact these services can have, but with everything there are positives and negatives, and it will be interesting to see how things work out in the future for subscription-based services like Xbox Game Pass. But on that note, this is where I'm going to end it. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you would like to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing, and as always, please remember to stay safe, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and I hope to see you again soon.